Welcome back to the Napoleonic Stacking Channel. I'm the Napoleonic Stacker, and in this video, we're going to speak about the history of pre-33 gold and take a look at some great pre-33 pieces. Stay tuned. So pre-33 gold is actually constitutional gold. The issuance of gold coins was originally written into our Constitution to provide Americans with sound money. Now, why do we call this pre-33 gold? Well, Franklin Roosevelt issued an executive order, 6102, which required all Americans to turn in all but a small amount of gold before May of 1933. Violation of the order would result in up to a $10,000 fine, which is roughly $200,000 today, up to 10 years in prison, or both. At the time, many Americans were very patriotic, and they didn't question their government in the way that we do today. So all of these people went to their banks, they turned in their gold, and government basically paid the people $20.67 per ounce for their gold. Directly after the confiscation, the government promptly revalued gold at $35 per ounce. This allowed the government to use the profits to fund public works projects through the New Deal. It also resulted in immediate loss of purchasing power to everyone that complied with the order. So with American gold coins, it's very similar to our silver in the fact that the effigy of liberty is on the face of almost all the gold coins that you see. We didn't actually start putting real people on coins until the Lincoln cent was introduced. Now, the first gold coins in the U.S. were actually struck as a $5 half eagle in 1795. And just to give you an idea, this is a later date $5 half eagle. This is from 1881, and it's got the effigy of liberty here. And you can see here it says United States of America, $5. Now, $5 gold piece in the mid to late 1800s was the equivalent of about a week's worth of labor for the average worker. So gold held a tremendous value back then, much like it does today. Alexander Hamilton actually recommended to Congress that the U.S. produce a silver $1 coin and a $1 gold coin. The $1 gold coin wasn't actually adopted until the late 1840s, primarily because people were speculating on silver and hoarding silver coins. So in an effort to get dollar pieces back into circulation, during the gold rush, the U.S. decided to strike $1 gold pieces. And for a short period of time in the late 1840s to the early 1850s, these gold coins circulated. Congress later in 1853 decided to revalue how much silver was actually in the silver coins. They reduced it. And as a result, silver started to pour back into circulation, and the need for these gold dollars started to diminish. So these primarily circulated for a very short period of time, and they mostly circulated out in California. This also is our smallest coin that the U.S. has ever produced. It's only 13 millimeters wide. How in the world they kept up with these in their pockets, who knows? And you also have, this is a $2.50 gold piece. This is from 1904. One of the last years these were issued. And you can see this one here is in AU condition. It still has some luster to it. Just a beautiful piece. And the older style Liberty heads circulated and were produced through most of the 1800s. Here's a $10 Liberty head. And this is actually an 1886. And you can see this is a MS-63. It's still got some good luster to it. On the back, you can see United States of America, $10. And when I was buying this coin, one of the things that sold me on it was the coin dealer was basically talking about how this was before cars existed. This was at a time when, after this was struck at the Mint in San Francisco, it was taken to different places around the Old West on a stagecoach, basically. I mean, who owned this coin? How was it spent? Just thinking about the history and where it's been, it just blows my mind. And it's just an amazing piece of history. And with the pre-33 gold, you can typically pick it up at relatively inexpensive prices. But some of the coins have appreciated quite a bit in recent years, and is a little bit harder to come by. Now, originally the $10 gold piece was the largest size gold piece that the U.S. produced, but because of the tremendous amount of gold that was coming out of California, the U.S. government decided to create a larger denomination, which is the gold double eagle. And this is a 1900 example of a gold double eagle. Now, these coins actually have 0.9675 troy ounces of gold, and this would be a little under a month's wages for the average laborer. So not a lot of Americans would hold gold in this size. And again, it wasn't used primarily for commerce. They were held a lot of times at banks, and they were traded between banks and held as securities. But this is just an absolutely spectacular example of a gold double eagle Liberty head. And you can see it's got the 13 stars around her head. On the back, it's got the eagle, and it's got just some beautiful patterns up above the stars, "In God We Trust." This is by far one of my favorite pre-33 coins, and I think it's just spectacular. This one here is also struck in San Francisco, so a little later than the Old West times, but still pretty cool. I like the San Francisco pieces. Now, also, there were some strange pieces of gold that were struck. This is actually a $3 gold piece, and this came out right after they introduced the 3-cent silver piece. And they used the 3-cent silver piece primarily for buying stamps. The idea behind the $3 gold piece effectively was to allow people to buy up to 100 stamps at a time, which most people didn't do. So the $3 gold piece didn't really circulate. It wasn't very popular, and many of them were melted down. As a result, they're very hard to come by, and they usually carry a very high premium. But you can see it's got the effigy of Liberty. She's got a kind of like an Indian crown, celebrating our Native American culture. And on the back here, you can see it's 1871. And the design here, these are basically like corn and wheat and different crops that the United States would produce made into a wreath, which is really cool. So I'm pretty excited to have an example of a $3 gold piece in my collection. So when we get to the early 20th century, Theodore Roosevelt had an example of an old coin from ancient Greece that was a super high relief of Alexander the Great. And he thought our coinage, going all the way back to the early 1800s, was, quoting Theodore Roosevelt, atrocious hideousness. He really didn't like the way that our old coinage looked. He had no appreciation for it. He understood how beautiful some of the coins coming out of Europe and our ancient past were, and he petitioned Congress to basically get some famous engravers and sculptors to come in and create a new series of coins, both in gold and silver, for the United States. Augustus St. Gaudens was the chief architect and engraver for this U.S. coin Renaissance period. And this is the Augustus St. Gaudens double eagle. And originally, it had been struck in 1907 in a high relief form. And the high relief coins actually took so many presses to get the image in, the dies would break after making 5 to 7 coins. And as a result, they ended up having to lower the relief, which is an example of what you see here. This is a 1927. And the 1907 high relief gold double eagles are some of the most highly sought after coins in the world. I think the gold double eagle is quite possibly the most beautiful coin in the world. It has the effigy of Liberty. She's walking towards you with the sun in the background. You can see there's the Capitol building down there on the bottom left. And she's got the torch in her hand, the olive branch. I mean, just an absolutely beautiful coin. And this one here, this is a MS-63 condition. And you can see on the back, boom, that just pops. The eagle flying over the sun. There's several versions of this coin. There's one that has "In God We Trust." That's the newer version. And the older version didn't have "In God We Trust" on it. Theodore Roosevelt actually wanted that removed from our coinage because he felt like it was sacrilegious. But Congress actually ended up putting it, overriding his decision and putting it back on the coins. This eagle just absolutely pops out of this coin, and the high relief version is even crazier to look at. Just absolutely spectacular. But again, I think this is one of the most beautiful coins ever produced. This is a US $20 gold piece designed by Augustus St. Gaudens. Now, he also helped to design several other coins, like the $10 eagle. This is the Indian head Liberty with 13 stars. And actually, around the rim of this coin, there's little stars that goes all the way around, which is really cool. And this is a 1913 example. Augustus St. Gaudens actually died before the final coin had been realized. So there were several others that helped in the production of this coin. And you've got the eagle sitting on the arrows here with the olive branch. E pluribus unum, $10. This is definitely a really cool coin. One of my favorites. And finally, we've got the $5 and the $2.50. So we've got the $5 gold Indian head. And this particular coin was actually engraved based on an image of a Indian out in the Black Hills. He was photographed and used as the image for the engraver. And with the $5 and the $2.50 Indian head coins, they actually are encused, which means that the image is sunk deep down into the coin. And what that basically does is give it a unique relief that you don't see with any other piece of American coinage. Now, as a result, the gold coins that did circulate, these very rarely circulated because people thought, because of the encused design, that it would carry germs and disease. So these coins were actually avoided. And in large part, many of these were also melted down during the gold confiscation because a lot of them ended up in banks. But this one here, this is a 1908. United States of America. The reverse is very similar to what you see on the gold eagle version. This is a half eagle. And then we've also got some quarter eagles here. Now the quarter eagles, a lot of times for wealthier families, the parents would give their children these gold quarter eagles as a Christmas present, kind of like you get a $2 bill from grandma. They used to get $2.50 gold pieces. And the children would promptly take it down to the bank, put it in the bank, take out the cash, and they'd never see it again. This one here, this is in 1927. Just absolutely stunning. And we also have here this one. This is a 1926. And many people find this coin to be their favorite gold coin just because of the effigy of the Indian. The U.S. finally decided to do something different to celebrate our Native American past, our Native American culture, and I think it's a great thing. And these are just absolutely spectacular coins. So later, after Richard Nixon unpegged the US dollar to gold, Gerald Ford actually authorized Americans to be able to hold and own gold again. And surprisingly, there was a lot of Americans that had this old pre-33 gold that was stored and hidden away for decades, that made its way into coin shops and ultimately made its way to the Napoleonic stacker and people like you. If you enjoy pre-33 gold like I do, please make a comment in the comment section. Let's talk about it. If you enjoy this video, please give me a like and share with your friends. I do greatly appreciate your time, and thank you so much for watching. Until next time, Napoleonic Stacker, signing out.